Have you ever noticed how some moments that seem to mark a victory in your financial life can silently turn into the beginning of a problem? Imagine the scene. The message arrives, the conversation happens, the raise is confirmed. In that instant, the body relaxes, breathing becomes lighter, and the mind thinks, now it's going to work. I'll finally be able to get organized. This effort was worth it. It's a real, almost physical, and profoundly human relief. Have you ever experienced this? This moment is powerful because it brings a sense of security, progress, and recognition. Gradually, financial life begins to seem more controllable. Bills seem smaller, decisions easier, and the idea that earning more money solves everything takes hold uninvited. That's where the danger lies. Because what almost no one realizes is that increased income doesn't just change the numbers, it changes financial behavior, choices, and how you perceive risk and comfort. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. Many of the decisions that follow this raise seem normal, mature, even responsible. But it's precisely this normality that hides the invisible error that keeps so many people trapped, even when they're earning more. And before you know it, that feeling of victory starts to mix with something hard to explain. And that's what we need to talk about now. And perhaps as you listen to this, some memory has already come to mind. An increase that brought hope, but also a strange feeling that despite everything, nothing has really changed. If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you the most so far, or even an experience you've lived through. When you share this, it's not just a venting session. It's someone on the other side recognizing themselves in your story. If at any point these words made you stop and think, liking this video helps this message reach more people who are also trying to understand why earning more money doesn't always mean getting ahead. And if you feel this kind of conversation is necessary, subscribing to the channel is a way of saying you want to continue reflecting on real financial decisions, the kind that nobody usually explains properly. Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people who are trapped in this same cycle, often without even realizing it. Every comment, every like, every subscription strengthens this community that is learning to see money with more awareness. And now, with that in mind, it's important to calmly look at what happens right after that feeling of victory passes, because that's when choices start to change, almost without warning. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because the real problem is almost never where people usually point. It's not a lack of control, it's not irresponsibility, and much less spending everything impulsively. The invisible error happens in a much quieter place, in the almost imperceptible change in decision-making patterns. When income increases, something changes inside. The mindset begins to adjust to the new number, and choices that previously seemed excessive begin to seem reasonable, even deserved. A little more comfort here, one more fixed commitment there, small concessions justified with phrases like, "I worked for this," or "now I can." None of this sounds wrong. On the contrary, it all seems like a sign of financial maturity. But behind the scenes, this new pattern begins to reshape the entire journey. Decisions cease to be made intentionally and become guided by feeling, a feeling of security, of progress, of transformation. The impact is not immediate, and perhaps that's why almost no one notices. There is no shock, no blatant mistake. There is only a sequence of normal choices that, added together, create a silent weight. The hidden truth is that the increase doesn't just change how much money comes in, it changes the way you think. Risk seems lower, the future seems more distant, and the present gains more importance. Commitments made at this time don't seem dangerous. They seem like a natural part of growth. But little by little, the freedom that money promised begins to narrow, not due to a lack of income, but due to an excess of automatic decisions. This is how many people enter a cycle where they earn more, but feel they are always in the same place, as if something is hindering their progress without ever clearly showing itself. This process doesn't happen all at once. It builds silently, decision after decision, until the feeling of progress turns into stagnation. And understanding this mechanism completely changes how you see money, choices, and the real impact of a raise on your life. Comment below, "This makes sense to me." Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this is where the psychology of money begins to operate almost invisibly. When income rises, The brain interprets this increase as an automatic reduction in risk. It's as if a layer of protection has been added to financial life. The mind relaxes. The urgency decreases. That constant attention to detail begins to dissolve. Planning ceases to be a priority because the feeling is that there is now room, space, leeway, and it is precisely at this point that the illusion of control sets in. Decisions are now made based on emotional comfort, not strategy. Longer payment terms seem harmless because they fit the budget. Larger fixed obligations seem justifiable because income allows. Everything is rationalized in an elegant, almost sophisticated way. Behind the scenes, however, something important is happening. Flexibility is gradually disappearing. There is no immediate pain, no visible impact that triggers an internal alarm. What exists is a silent stagnation, difficult to perceive while one is immersed in it. This is one of the most uncomfortable revelations of this journey. Extra money creates a sense of control, but at the same time reduces vigilance. The mindset changes without asking permission. The future begins to be treated as something distant, while the present gains more weight in decisions. And since all this happens gradually, the person continues to believe they are in control, even when each new choice further reduces their ability to move. The hidden truth is that financial control doesn't stem from the amount of money, but from the mental clarity with which decisions are made. When that clarity is lost, an increase in income ceases to be a transformation and becomes merely an adjustment of circumstances. Life seems more comfortable, but not necessarily freer, and the longer this illusion remains intact, the harder it becomes to identify exactly where the path began to narrow. If this reflection is affecting you in any way, write in the comments, "I'm on this journey too." Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because there's a belief here that needs to be carefully dismantled. The idea that more money in itself changes the final outcome of one's financial life is one of the most accepted and least questioned truths. In practice, extra money doesn't create a new path, it only expands the path that was already being followed. If before the person lived on the edge, now they continue on the edge, only with larger sums of money, more sophisticated commitments, and seemingly more mature decisions. The scenario changes, but the logic remains the same. This is an uncomfortable revelation for many people because it shifts the focus away from income and places attention where almost no one likes to look, at mindset. The mental model that guides decisions remains intact. Choices follow the same pattern, guided by the same emotions, the same impulses, and the same internal justifications. The impact of the increase, then, is not liberating. It only expands old habits, amplifies already known routines, and strengthens behaviors that have never been reviewed. Behind the scenes of this journey, money acts as an amplifier. It doesn't correct, organize, or automatically transform. It only gives more reach to decisions that were already being made. That's why so many people feel they work more, earn more, but don't advance. The feeling of progress exists, but it's superficial. Inside, everything continues to spin in the same place. The hidden truth is that income is a tool, not a solution. Without a conscious change in behavior, it adapts to the existing lifestyle and becomes complacent within it. When this happens, the person enters a silent cycle of frustration that's difficult to explain. There's no clear mistake to point to, no visible villain. There's only the perception that something isn't evolving as it should. And understanding this point completely changes how one views financial growth, daily decisions, and the true meaning of transformation over time. Comment below. This makes sense to me. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because there's a turning point that almost no one notices while going about their daily routine. After understanding that more money doesn't change the outcome on its own, it becomes clear that true transformation doesn't happen externally but internally. It begins the moment someone realizes that it's not the numbers that determine the course of their financial life, but rather the decisions they repeat every day, almost automatically. The real impact lies less in how much money comes in, and much more in how each choice is filtered by the mindset the person carries. Behind the scenes of this journey, changing the outcome requires slowing down the decision-making process. It's about learning to create a small space between impulse and action, a space where simple questions begin to appear, such as, does this expand my freedom or just my comfort? Or, Is this decision part of a larger process or just a momentary relief? It seems subtle, but this adjustment changes everything. Because when income grows without this awareness accompanying it, the money simply fits into an old, already corrupted system that continues to operate in the same way. The hidden truth is that real financial growth requires internal friction. It requires swimming against socially accepted decisions, against external expectations, and even against immediate desires. It's not comfortable, and perhaps that's why it's so rare. Most people prefer the feeling of visible progress, even if it doesn't bring true advancement. But when someone starts to revise their own mental model, each choice takes on a different weight. The journey ceases to be about earning more and becomes about making better decisions. This type of change doesn't happen all at once. It builds up in small revelations, in almost invisible but cumulative adjustments. And the more this clarity grows, the more evident it becomes that money can be a powerful tool or just an amplifier of old patterns. It all depends on who is in control of the decisions. Comment below, this makes sense to me. If you've made it this far, it's because this conversation touched on an important point in your own journey. And if this kind of reflection helps you see money more clearly, subscribing to the channel is a simple way to continue receiving this type of content without shortcuts and empty promises. Just honest conversations about decisions that truly make a difference in the long run. If you want, leave a comment below so I know you stayed until the end. You can write, "This message was for me," or "I'm with you until the end." I read everything, and it really helps keep this space alive and connected with those who are truly going through this process. And if at any point in this video you felt that silent connection, liking it is just a way to reinforce that connection and show that this content made sense to you. There's a video over here that complements this topic and delves even deeper into this conversation. Click there and continue the conversation.